Hello everyone, and welcome to the Prince Magnum channel where hot rodding and romance do coexist. I'm your host, Prince Magnum. Welcome to Do-It-Yourself Budget Hot Rodding. In today's episode of Do-It-Yourself Budget Hot Rodding, let's talk about Project Lena. Project Lena is our 2003 Pontiac Grand Am GT. And as the making of this video, a few days ago, I was at work as usual, and I called home to Princess Faye, and she basically told me Lena won't start. Now, thankfully, she was already at home, but Lena won't start, so she couldn't go to the store and pick up some odds and ends that we needed around HQ. So immediately, like normal, what is she doing? Why, basically, why won't she start? And immediately, Princess Faye describes a dead battery. Basically, your battery is either weak or dead when you go to hit that key, and it just has that low dragging, attempt to start, but she won't start because she doesn't have enough power to fully engage the starter and to supply enough power to the ignition system and all the other stuff that's inside of a vehicle. Or you go to hit the key and you have nothing, which is exactly what Princess Faye basically, she had a little bit of a dome light, but not much. So in just a moment, we're going to cut away, show you, basically it's like, I wanted to kind of show exactly what she was describing, and then I'm going to walk you guys through the process of swapping out the battery. And when we come back, we're going to kind of go over a couple more things and a couple of little tips to kind of, help you along the way. Some stuff that a lot of people just, they really don't exactly go over on some of the other channels, but just kind of some odds and ends that'll help you along the way in maintaining your project vehicle. So, in just a moment, I'll see all of you on the other side of this. Alright, let's see if it's as Princess Faye actually describes. Okay, I got no power. Absolutely nothing, not even dome lights. As you can see, nothing. And right back there, not even the usual dome lights. So there is absolutely 110% no power. When you've got something like this, basically in a nutshell, the battery is dead. She will not take a jump. We need to skip that. We need to get the battery pulled out, and we need to go ahead and get a brand new one. So that's where this stands. All right, folks. Basically, we've got a side post battery. A side post battery, right like that. Okay. So I need to disconnect both of those cables. Now, as best as I'll be able to show you when we get back, but you always start taking off the positive first, then you take off the negative. Some people will say take off the negative first and then the positive, but here's the problem. Your negative really doesn't do anything, okay, by taking it loose. By leaving it on, if there's a short, the electricity has somewhere to go, not necessarily just through you. So, by having that negative there, it's just kind of a safety feature, all right? So, we got to start there.
got a brand new battery, fresh from, interstate, so we should be good to go. So all we have to do is get back to HQ, put the new one in, bolt everything up, and everything should be ready to rock and roll. Folks, we're now at that stage. The new battery is in. First thing we got to do, put the key in and see what she's gonna do. Alrighty, that's a good sign. Ta-da! Let's give her a few moments. Everything seems to be in order, about normal. Amazing.
And welcome back. I hope all of you enjoyed, kind of learning a little bit about maintaining and taking care of a classic, of your project, whether it's a classic or a newer vehicle. But let's briefly talk about some things that I don't believe I fully went over in this particular video. So we're going to go over them now before we go, do our usual outro. First and foremost, I know I kind of briefly talked about this, but when you're taking a battery out of a vehicle, or for that matter, it'll be reverse order, but basically when you're taking a battery out of a vehicle, the first thing you need to actually do is disconnect the positive. Even though you're changing the battery, it may or may not have any electricity in there. If there's a short somewhere in the vehicle and it's drawing off of that battery and there's just enough juice there, you can get hurt. You can get hurt pretty badly. You can actually get sparks, so disconnect the positive before you do the negative. I know there's a lot of channels that will tell you to do opposite of that, but I've seen doing opposite, basically disconnecting the negative first, and bad things happen to people, okay? So start with the positive first. And very importantly, and this is kind of an electrician's tip, something that I actually learned from an electrician. When you're working with something like that, if you don't have to touch anything with your other hand, don't. Don't touch it with your other hand, okay? Because again, you're basically dealing with electricity. And if you're touching something with your other hand, it has a direct current to that. So, I'm not saying that's going to prevent anything, but it'll hurt a lot more if you're touching something. And I know this from experience because there was actually one day I was changing the battery in Project Spirit, and the battery I was putting in there was shorted out, and the battery actually, when I went to hook up the positive, it not only fried a couple wires in Spirit, but it hit me too, and I actually ended up in the hospital for a little while that day because of that. So be very careful. Don't, if you don't, try not to touch, keep your other hand, if you're right-handed, keep your one hand behind you. A lot of electricians will actually hook a hand on their belt loop or put it in their pocket and just use one when playing with electricity like that. So if you don't have to touch anything with both, both hands, don't. So there's those little tips right there. When you're going to put your battery back in, start with the negative first and then go to the positive. Again, we're back to, if there's a short or something like that, the negative will kind of give you something so the electricity at least has somewhere to go. And it's also a preventative thing for your car, because especially in more modern vehicles, you don't want that electricity, without some sort of a ground there. I don't know why other channels tell you to do the positive first. I don't know where they get that idea don't do that. Don't do that. Again, I've seen bad things happen that way. All right. And if you were able to make sense of that, I have moments where I'm not even sure if I make sense. All right. Another little tip. The battery that we just put into Project Lena was not a cheap battery. This is, again, an interstate battery. And I want to take a moment and thank our new friends over at Interstate Battery for hooking us up with exactly what we needed. This battery comes with a 6-year warranty, okay? A 6-year warranty, and they guarantee that this battery will last us for a very long time. A long time. And that is exactly what you want. You do not want to pay for the same real estate twice. And I don't care whether it's for your vehicle or for your sweetheart's vehicle. Buy a good one. Buy one that has some sort of a warranty like that, and that's going to last you a long time. Because the last thing you want to be doing is be out somewhere and that vehicle won't start. Then you're either calling your other half to come rescue you, or you're calling a tow truck. And in both cases, it's costing you money you didn't need to spend, and you're still going to be replacing the battery, but now you're paying even more because of this. So buying the cheap batteries, you're going to be doing this more often. The more expensive ones, the ones that are going to last you a long time, that have that kind of warranty where the company will back it up for that long, that to me tells me that basically you're going to be doing that less, because it's still going to happen. These things happen. That's just the nature of the beast. It's the nature of owning a car or a truck or a van or whatever. But it's going to cost you less because you're going to be doing that less. Okay, so plan for the future. Think in the long term. Okay, now if you're just going to be selling the vehicle, put whatever you want in there. But if you plan on keeping your vehicle for a while, definitely go with the more expensive one. And again, thank you to our friends at Interstate Battery over in Farmington for hooking us up with exactly what Project Lena needed. All right, and last but not least, even though the weather is cold, and we expect that with cold weather, batteries are going to go bad. They're going to go bad, especially even if they've got a couple of years on them. The likelihood of them going bad is going to be pretty quickly. But just because of that, expect that with age, parts will wear out. Parts will, break down. So, even though you're putting in a new battery, doesn't mean that everything's fixed. There could be a belt that's loose, or a pulley that is worn out, or your alternator isn't doing what it's supposed to be doing. If you have any suspicions that this is also a thing, have it checked out. A lot of shops, a lot of auto parts shops will do what is known as a load test and check your alternator to make sure that it's supplying your vehicle with enough electricity to keep the battery charged. Because if you have an alternator that's not putting out the charge that it's supposed to, a brand new battery is not going to make that much of a difference. It's still going to, you're going to end up with a dead battery again. And most people don't know this. When your car battery dies, it loses half of its life. So you start off with a battery that's 100% fresh, fully charged, and then you kill it. So now it's only got half of its life. So a battery that might have lasted 4 years, we'll say now is only good for 2 years. Well, you kill that battery again. Now that 2 years is down to 1 year. Kill the battery again, and that 1 year is now down to 6 months. You guys see where this is going. So if for some reason you've got a faulty alternator, a bad belt, a worn out pulley, anything of that nature, get those parts changed quickly, or your brand new battery isn't going to last you very long. So get these parts replaced quickly. Now, if you do suspect that, if you do have an alternator changed, and you go into an actual an actual repair shop, and you have a load test done, here's a little inside trick. Some of these shops out there will try to pull a fast one on you. They'll do a load test on it. Some of these repair shops are, you'll hear horror stories on this. So this is a little inside tip to help you prevent this, if you didn't figure out that's where I was going with this. If you suspect that a shop is about to try to rip you off on during, and they do a load test, before you take it to a shop to have the load test done, somewhere on that alternator, if put like a drop of like nail polish, something that you would only notice, all right, and take that alternator in, and basically take your vehicle in, they do the load test, and they'll say, oh, it's a bad alternator. Okay, go ahead and change it. I already suspected as much. And then if you don't think that, if you kind of suspect, you can check that drop of nail polish, and that only you would know where to find it, and basically go, caught you red-handed if you find the old alternator on there, or specifically ask them to hand you the old alternator back, that you want it back. A lot of shop, if a shop at any point, when you ask for the old part back, and they're like, well, we don't normally do that. Well, I'm asking you for it. If they don't do it, you got ripped off. That's an easy one. And as a matter of fact, to kind of give you an inside track, Torque Diesel and Auto, they already, that was actually one of their tests that I gave them, and immediately they passed with flying colors. They passed with flying colors. Sure, we'll be glad to give you the old part back. So so that's how, little inside tricks to help you, if you do have a faulty alternator, because again, it does not matter how good your battery is. If you've got a faulty alternator or a bad belt or worn out pulley or even a short somewhere in the vehicle, it's not going to matter. So get those things changed. All right. I did a little bit of rambling, but it was worth it, because these are actual tips that you guys need to know to keep your vehicle rocking and rolling, whether it's your daily driver or your custom or your daily driven custom, however that works out for you. It'll help you with keeping them on the road. All right, so that brings us to our usual spot where, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to smash that like button. If you didn't like it, hit the dislike button twice. If you're not subscribed to the Prince Magnum channel, you definitely should consider doing so. We try to put out content like this as often as we possibly can, but the weather has been extremely cold, so it's one of those things. We're in winter content right now for the channel. And as always, get out there and work on a project. I don't care what it is, just do something with yourself. Remember, idle hands and a creative mind go together like oil and water. If you have a sweetheart, sweep them off their feet and do something special for them today. And as always, for all of you out there, if no one out there has told any of you that they love you today, Prince Magnum does. God bless you, and have a happy 24. Thank you.